Well, a perfect 5-pointed star sat in the middle of the Algerian desert. I've no idea why that is or what it is, but I know what it's not. Could be a marker, could be nothing at all. Very odd thing to have out in the open like that, though. I do like this one, a fire engine that swaps its wheels for the rails so it can get down a tunnel and reach you. Good engineering, nothing sinister about it, and we don't get enough of that really. More of this on the show, I think.
Guys, so I'm just watching Miss Rachel with my son, and this person pops up on the screen, and he's just like waving at us, talking in a different language. And look at him. I don't know if he can hear me or not. This is scary. This is insane. I've seen it on TikTok and on the news, and I never thought this would happen. Look, let me see if he'll pop up again, because it's this.
There you go. Thank you. You're welcome. Bean will have a nice nap, and then he'll have energy to play later. Can you help me get him to sleep? If we sing a lullaby...
Fuck this shit.
See, this is what happens when your telly is wired into everything and secured by nothing. That stranger turning up mid-cartoon isn't a ghost in the machine, is it? It's someone who may have found a screen with no password on it. Horrible thing to watch happen, though.
Yeah, so these are the Hoysala temples, which are in southern India. I was just looking at these with my own eyes a couple weeks ago. It's completely unexplainable. And to think of the size of the machine that would be required, say you turn that pillar sideways, you connect it to a machine on each side, and you start lathing. So I do think we have strong evidence for machining in ancient history. And in my mind, it doesn't have to be machines. You know, there could have been other ways that they were doing this that we don't even recognize. This is at the museum in Hampi in southern India. And that, to me, it looks like where a pillar might have been placed and the machine was spinning.
Like the end plates.
Yeah, exactly.
I've never been able to fully shrug off the tool marks on some of this old stonework, and no, I don't buy that it's completely lost technology, really, not really. I think it's only lost in the sense that it's sat somewhere and we've not got any access to that place. I'm looking at somewhere Italy direction, if you know what I mean. Hello and welcome back to another episode. My name is NEXOR. For those of you which are new, welcome. You know, it's great to have you here. You clicked on this thumbnail looking for some kind of exploration of what's being discussed right now, things which have been discussed before and maybe are being reheated and resurfacing. Look, the job is to go down the rabbit hole together, and it's not to find the bomb, it's to find the thread which resides in amongst all the noise, extract it, and practice our discernment along the way, because there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of things out there to try and distort your perspective of things, and my job is to try and help you figure out, as well as myself, you know, I'm always learning, there's always something new to learn, but to try and help you and myself figure out what the hell is going on. So if you've enjoyed what you've seen so far, there's a hell of a lot more coming up. I'll ask you now, hit subscribe so you don't have to, you know, do it later on. This, you know, means you won't be interrupting yourself watching the video. And that goes for everybody. If you're new, old, or whatever, we're looking to hit 200,000 subs by September 1st. And if every single person who watches these episodes, which is not subscribed, did that right now, we would annihilate that goal. We'd probably be at 250,000 subs just like that in a single episode. By the way, thank you in advance. Enough of me rambling. Let's crack on.
My name is Doctor.
Say what?
Name is Doctor.
Did you bring your kids to work today?
Yeah, I thought that was you.
Hi, my name is Doctor.
Hey, Tower, is that a baby on frequency?
I'm trying to figure out. My guess is as best as yours.
So some kid gets on the air traffic control frequency and sends the whole tower into a spin. Brilliant. You can hear the confusion from all angles. Classic. Do we really need any further evaluation on this one? I mean, we see it everywhere in everything at all times. It's hard not to actually see it these days, is it?
So this is poor, but wait till I get to billionaire, because this is the sad reality of the world we live in today. Here's middle class, which is a lot of people. Here's upper middle class. Here's upper class. So not a lot of people got that. Here's millionaire. Like, y'all, at that point, you might as well just have dollar bills as your toilet paper. Here's billionaire. But look, guys, look. If you look closely at these stairs, you see, actually, you know what? Here's infinite wealth. Yeah, all of that's going to perish anyways. Do we understand that he's the only one who will be left standing, and anyone who decides to follow him and belong to him will be standing with him? Everything else is meaningless. I'll take this one, though. I'll take this one, though.
Okay, I will give it the wealth ladder. That is the fair part. Most of us are stuck near the bottom, and the top may as well be another planet. Then it swerves off into spread the gospel territory, which is his business, right? But it is a bit of a bait and switch, which, I don't know, what's the angle there? Make of it what you will.
The people out there who say, oh, Earth is just perfect for life. Oh, what a haven in all the universe, just right. It's not just right. Every opportunity it gets, it tries to kill us. The tsunamis, the hurricanes, the tornadoes, the asteroids. 3/4 of the Earth, if I drop you butt naked, you're dead 10 minutes later because something eats you, okay? Earth is bad for life. Evidence of that is, look at the fossil record. 99% of all species that ever lived are now extinct. That is not the signature of a planet that is in love with life.
He's not wrong that the planet will kill you the second you stop paying attention. But, how do you look at the one rock in the universe absolutely covered in life and decide it's bad for life? Hostile and teeming at once. That is a very interesting person to pick to make that claim and statement. Smells almost a bit like a, what's that word? Sounds like, well, you know. Every single person that you see on screen right here decided to support what I do from their own back pocket, and I never asked them to do that, but they decided to do it anyway, and I cannot thank them enough. They are the reason that I get to sit here and make these episodes every single day. I do not have any external support. There's no ad sponsors, there's no brand deals, nothing like that. You're not going to have me trying to sell you a weird mattress or a VPN. It's just these guys. So take a bow. You guys have earned it. A round of applause from the comment section, please, because look, they don't just help me, but they help you, because it means you get to watch these episodes for free. Now, if you want to join them, there is a link down below. No pressure, no expectation, but it's an option. Again, I'm not asking you to, but with that being said, let's crack on with the rest of this episode.
This really is one of those facts that sounds completely made up, but it is more or less true. This TikTok video that I got tagged in shows multiple photos of Leonardo da Vinci, a very famous inventor from history. You then can see some images of notes, and it states that Leonardo wrote all of his notes in reverse so nobody could steal them. Now, believe it or not, it is true that Leonardo did write all of his notes in reverse. However, the reason is not exactly solidified. You see, Leonardo was a left-handed writer, and if you've written left-handed, you'll know that you have a tendency to smudge. So it's believed that Leonardo learned to write backwards, so he wasn't smudging his work. This is the most widely accepted reason for why he wrote backwards, because after all, if somebody really wanted to steal his work, it would be very easy to just show it into a mirror or some other reflecting surface, and you'd be able to read it like you would otherwise.
Well, this one's actually a bit of a relief, isn't it? Because the creator debunks it himself. Everyone repeats that Leonardo wrote backwards so nobody could nick his ideas, when really he was left-handed and sick of dragging his hand through wet ink. But, as with anything like this, there's always just that little more to it, isn't there?
What the actual going on in Jacksonville, Florida? What the news report from Quandale Dingle at 5 a.m. What the what that? Everybody's wondering. I stopped my right here. What the
Don't lose any sleep over that one, okay? It's just a rocket.
I decided to mix germs with my blood, and something crazy happened. You might not believe this is even real. These germs are huge compared to my red blood cells, but after some time I noticed the most incredible thing. My white blood cells circled in the next clip began to attack the germs, and after they attached, the germs began to explode. This was incredible to see under the microscope. In the next clips, you'll see the same process again, but with bigger germs. My white blood cells would move towards the germ, attach to the germ, and then literally explode the germ. This was the craziest one of all. I've circled my white blood cell trying to attach to this giant germ, and it eventually ripped open the germ. They are small, but they are strong and mighty, and they fight for you every day. So be kind to yourself. You are worth more than you can ever imagine.
You know what, I could watch white blood cells go to work under a microscope all day, tiny things and completely relentless. We don't give them enough credit. Then the fella ends on telling you to be kind to yourself, which, you know, fair enough. I second that. Please be kind to yourself.
What would you do with all the knowledge in the universe? So according to Theosophy, there's this kind of cloud server called the Akashic Records, which exists in a higher dimension called the mental plane. It's kind of a compendium of past, present, and future events, everything that has ever been or will be for all life in the universe. Edgar Cayce, who claimed to be clairvoyant and psychic, also claimed to be able to access these records while in altered states of consciousness, where he would transcribe information to help people with their problems or discover their life's purpose. Now, I don't know if this is real or not, but some think that quantum mechanics and string theory in particular might prove the existence of higher dimensions someday, and maybe even the Akashic Records themselves. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments, and make sure to like and follow for more.
It may surprise some, but not all, to know that I firmly believe in the Akashic Records myself. It just makes sense to me, but each to their own, especially with things like this, okay? I'm just going to say fake. That's all I will say, quite honestly. Though, if they have been getting their letters from Taco Bell recently and is in the US, well, this could be the case with all the exploding diarrhea going on right now, but I highly doubt it.
You don't think Earth is flat? But I fly a lot. One time I took a 25-hour flight, and the plane never did this. If you're on the map, if US is here and another country is there, when I was going to that country, the plane never did that. That's all I said.
I'm really not having the Earth be flat because a plane didn't do a loop-de-loop, you know? What did he expect a long flight over the curve to feel like? Nothing, because this thing we live on is enormous. Flying a lot doesn't make you right. It just means you've sat through a load of curvature without ever once clocking it.
I met someone recently that told me they hadn't touched a fruit in over 2 years, and my first thought was, how has this person not got scurvy yet? But what's interesting is that humans are one of the only mammals that don't produce our own vitamin C. We used to. It was a gene called gulo that our ancestors had, and it was responsible for producing vitamin C in our bodies. But millions of years ago, we developed a mutation that switched it off, and it never came back. Without enough vitamin C, the human body can't survive, which is why over 2 million sailors died from scurvy during the Age of Discovery, being more deadly than storms, shipwrecks, and combat combined. And the only reason that we lost this gene was because our ancestors were eating so much fruit that our bodies didn't need to produce our own. And today, your body still needs fruits and vegetables to function.
This is one of those facts that sounds completely made up, and apparently it isn't. We're supposedly one of the only animals that can't make, well, our own vitamin C. I do not believe we are natural and of this planet, to be honest, you know? But that is just me.
When people black out, it ain't them no more.
It ain't them no more. When you get drunk, a spirit comes in. It's called a cool. And then that's what it is. Your vibration gets so low, something else jumps in. So when you black out, it's not you. It's that entity that jumped into your body. So that's why you don't remember. Especially when you're a bar and you're around there's a lot of negativity. Whatever energies thrive on that, they're ready for the next host to feed off of. And once your energy elevates again, comes out.
Something else jumped into the vessel.
Yeah. The law of polarity. Everything exists in balance. Just like how you can be very, very good, duality, you can be very, very bad. And that's where a lot of these entities, they prey on the weak, because there's people that don't know how to balance those energies.
I am as open to the spiritual side as anyone, but can we not explain a blackout without an entity climbing into the driver's seat? That's alcohol doing what alcohol does to a brain. Whatever is going on in the metaphysical, it isn't hopping into you at last orders, okay? It stays its own side of the fence.
Everyone says the Simpsons predicted the future, but what if they weren't predictions at all? What if they were admissions? And there's a belief in certain circles that if something is revealed beforehand, if If it's out in the open, then somehow the responsibility shifts. Almost like saying, well, we told you. And when you look at some of the things that have appeared in cartoons, films, and television over the years, you have to admit it's a strange pattern. Not once, not twice, over and over again. Which raises another question. If they can do that today through cartoons, films, and TV, what's to say they weren't doing the exact same thing in the old world? Because suddenly you start looking at fairy tales differently. Giants, goblins, fairies, and dragons. What if some stories weren't created to entertain us? What if they were created to hide something in plain sight? Because if stories can be used to shape perception today, why do we assume every story from the past was created for a different reason?
Now, the Simpsons thing gets laughed at, but I lean towards this one. Predictive programming, soft disclosure, whatever you want to call it, okay? You put a thing in a cartoon so it's old news by the time it actually lands. Does every example hold up? No, but there is a pattern as a whole, and I've never really been able to quite dismiss it. Animals reclaiming the streets in 2020. Still a lovely memory, if you can call it that, even if half of these are recycled every single year. But we'll take it.
Let's say this is all land on Earth. 10% is covered with ice. 15% is deserts and mountains. 10% is shrubland with grass and bushes. And 29% of the Earth's land is covered with forest. All human infrastructure, everything from cities, roads and parking lots, is only 1%. We use 12% to grow crops, but not all of it is food. A small part is for things like cotton or biofuel. A lot more is fed to animals, like corn and soy. So if we would eat this ourselves, we would have a lot more food. The rest is grazing land, mainly for beef and dairy production. The growing demand for meat and dairy, and the land this requires, is the main reason we're still cutting down forests. And now the real shock. All this red land only provides 17% of all calories and a third of all protein. This is why eating less meat, especially beef, makes such a big difference, because then we can stop feeding animals with human food and bring back more forest. Learn more in the free Fork Ranger app.
There is a real point buried in here about how much land we hand over to feeding animals instead of feeding ourselves, and I don't doubt a word of it, right up until it turns out to be an advert for an app, which of course it is. Everything seems to be now. I'll take the maths and still side-eye the sales pitch riding off the back of it, okay?
People who spend long periods of time at home and slowly lose the desire to go outside often think they're just resting. But psychologically, many of them are experiencing something called mental rumination. It's a state where the brain starts slowing down while the number of thoughts inside keeps increasing. The motivation to do anything slowly disappears. The mind gets stuck in the past, worries about the future, and burns itself out. This isn't laziness, it's a nervous system stuck in survival mode. And the longer it lasts, the more distant normal life begins to feel. And the difficult part is that you usually can't escape it through one massive burst of motivation. And sometimes recovery starts with just one small step.
This one's more real than the usual fare. That state where resting stops being rest and your head just runs laps. Plenty of people are living in that and calling it laziness. It just plainly isn't.
See, this is why I'm so adamant about people using bins, yeah, not littering. 2008. If that's not an awakening, if that's not a calling sign in your brain that you need to stop littering, then I don't know what it is. Because it's not going anywhere. This person, that's 18 years ago, fam. I was 2, 3. And look how good condition it... Oh, yo, just him.
Points to the lad, actually. A Walker's packet from 2008 still sat there, fully intact as a grim little advert for using a bin. It'll outlive a lot of us.
Here's an incredible photo of one of the rarest wild animals in the United States, a wild jaguar captured on a trail cam in southern Arizona. Jaguars once roamed from California to Louisiana, but hunting and habitat loss over the years eliminated them from the U.S. by the mid-20th century. Now, after decades of absence, a small number of wild males have begun returning from Mexico, giving scientists hope the species may be reclaiming part of its historic range. There are still no known breeding females in the United States, so every trail cam photo is considered an extremely rare glimpse of America's largest native cat. This picture was accidentally left behind by a woman who helped build the first iPhones. In 2008, a Foxconn factory worker forgot to delete her camera's test photos before the phone was shipped off to a customer in Britain. After he posted them online, the smiling worker became an instant internet sensation known simply as iPhone Girl. Here's a photo of a nuclear explosion less than 1 millisecond after detonation. At this moment, the fireball was only about 66 feet across, but already millions of degrees, roughly 3 times hotter than the surface of the sun. The spikes hanging beneath it are steel support cables being instantly vaporized into glowing plasma. The image was captured in 1952 using an ultra-high-speed camera, revealing the first moments of a nuclear explosion in a way the human eye never could.
3 properly rare ones, but the nuclear shot is the one that actually gets to me a bit, okay? That is the good stuff.
I mean, with artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon. You know all those stories where there's the guy with the pentagram and the holy water, and he's like, yeah, you sure you can control the demon? Didn't work out.
So you tell us we're summoning a demon with AI, and then you put it in the robots you're building?
Our robot has a real brain. It's got the real world AI, so it tells us the leader in real world AI.
Let me remember, what did that demon call itself in the Bible? Oh yeah, Legion.
But even 5,000 robots, that's the size of a Roman legion, FYI. Which is like a little scary thought, like a whole legion of robots. I'd be like, whoa. But I think we'll literally build a legion, at least 1 legion of robots this year, and then probably 10 legions next year. And I don't know, it's kind of a cool unit, units of legion. So probably 50,000-ish next year.
And don't think for a second that he's stopping at 50,000.
I can tell you now, nobody will remember that Tesla ever made a car. They will only remember the Optimus, and that he is going to make 1 billion of those. And it is going to be the most transformative technology product ever made in the history of humanity.
If you read like the plotline for Terminator, it's actually pretty smart.
Is Skynet real? How real is the prospect of killer robots annihilating humanity?
20% likely, maybe 10%.
On what time frame?
5 to 10 years.
People here must talk about summoning the demon and think he's warning them. Warning who? He's building the thing and reading out the schedule as he goes. The end of human control and the end of the world aren't the same sentence. He only said the first, and that one is arguably worse.
No, you can't do that.
Yes, I can.
All right.
It's a public beach, dude.
Dude, come on, man.
It's a public beach.
I understand it's a public beach and I can't stop you, but now I have to explain it to my boss.
What? That I'm taking a video?
All right. It's kind of hot, sec. I mean, want to be cool. I don't know.
Okay. Hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Come on now. A mystery torpedo washes up and a man in a wetsuit is right there to guard it while another bloke films on a laptop. I'll be honest, that looks a bit like a skit. The unidentified technology caption is doing a lot of work for 2 lads with a prop. P.S. I'm pretty sure that is just something they use to monitor what's going on in the sea. And they were probably just defending expensive tech, I'll be honest with you.
Does anybody else find this strange? Ariana Grande's latest music video is very bizarre. I don't know what is going on with Ariana Grande anymore, but you have to admit that her latest music video is very, very strange. And again, I know I can't be the only one out there that finds this music video to be very, very disturbing. And again, people have been wondering what is going on with Ariana Grande. And it seems as if all of this has started ever since she was in those Wicked movies. Again, what do you all think about all of this? Maybe there's nothing wrong at all. I really don't know. But honestly, something really seems off. But again, this music video that she released is very bizarre. And I know I can't be the only one out there that finds this new music video that she put out to be very, very strange. What do you all think about this? Comment down below.
And here's the daily. Is anyone else disturbed by this pop star video? The exact same framing exercise every time. No claim in it, no point to it. Just a bloke asking you to worry on his behalf so that you'll comment, I guess. Hollywood, runs on precisely this. So with that, we'll just be moving on.
What if the Mandela effect is proof that you survived the end of the world? Think about it. Millions of people remember things differently. The Monopoly Man's monocle, Pikachu's black tail tip, even famous movie quotes that apparently never existed. And somehow, huge groups of people remember the exact same details. But here's where it gets weird. In 2012, the Mayan calendar predicted the end of the world, and obviously nothing happened, or at least that's what we thought. But there's a theory called quantum immortality. It suggests that when you die, your consciousness doesn't experience death. Instead, it continues in another universe where you survived. So what if something actually happened in 2012, and instead of dying there and then, our consciousness shifted into the closest possible reality where Earth survived? But the new reality wasn't perfect. Tiny details were different. Logos changed, movie quotes changed, even history felt slightly off. And those old memories were shared by so many people that traces of the old reality could have leaked into this one.
Look, it is a fun theory, and I really do feel the pull of it. I do. But no, the Mandela effect isn't proof you survived 2012 and slid into a spare universe that just happened to be lying around. We misremember a logo, thousands of us the same way, because we grew up on the same adverts. Same planet, different worlds. Not really much I can add to that, and I don't think really I should.
Do you ever read his tweets?
Нет.
Do you ever tweet?
Нет.
Why not?
У меня есть другие средства выразить свою точку зрения или провести какое-то решение. Дональд более современный человек.
Would you say he's more colorful than you are?
Может быть.
Two politicians pretending their worlds apart while running the identical game. It never stops being, well, I would say hilarious, but we're the victims of all this. One tweets through everything, the other reckons he's above it. Same show, different costumes. I don't lean either way here. If you've been watching long enough, you know I don't care. It's all the show.
Albert Einstein famously said, "Everyone's a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will spend its whole life believing that it's stupid."
Small one, really small, I'm talking like grain here, but Einstein almost certainly never said the fish and the tree line. Lovely sentiment, wrong person entirely.
You're gonna like this. What did God take out of Adam to create Eve? A rib. And what are one of the only bones in a human body that can actually regrow itself? Ribs. And what do those ribs surround in the human body? The heart. And how many ribs are in a human body again? 24. Now check this out. And the 24 elders who sit on their thrones before God fell on their faces and worshiped God. That verse is talking about heaven. 24 elders sit around Jesus like human ribs, and Jesus is the heart of our faith.
I find it pretty interesting how 24 also equates to 6 in numerology. I think it goes deeper than religion. Far deeper. Like we're talking maybe even quantum level rabbit hole here.
This is the one that's going to make you question everything. The hollow moon theory. Our moon feels like it shouldn't exist, and when you line up the numbers, it starts feeling like somebody put it there on purpose. Let's start with size. Our moon is about a quarter of the size of the Earth, which is freakishly huge compared to other moons and their planets, and I'm not counting Pluto because it's not considered a planet anymore. But get this, the moon is 60% less dense than Earth. Way too light for its size. There are only two ways that this works. Either it's porous like a sponge all the way through, or it's a shell around a hollow center. And one of NASA's own, Gordon McDonald, even said that the data made the moon look more hollow than solid. Now, here's what's baffling. The sun and the moon appear the exact same size in our sky, and nowhere else does this happen. The sun is 400 times wider than the moon, but it sits almost exactly 400 times farther away. Those numbers cancel out perfectly. The famous science writer Isaac Asimov called this the sheerest of coincidences. It's the only reason we get total perfect eclipses, which doesn't happen anywhere else in the solar system. And then there's this. We always see the same side of the moon. Officially, that's because of tidal locking. And to be fair, that isn't unique to our moon, but you have to admit it's a strangely perfect setup for something that doesn't want you seeing its other half. And if people have reported strange flashes, glows, and transient lunar phenomena on the side that we can see, then what's happening on the side that we almost never get to look at? So how did the moon come to be? Well, the leading theory says that a Mars-sized planet called Theia slammed into the early Earth, and the debris became the moon. But test the moon rocks against that, and the isotopes don't show another planet at all. They show that the moon is made of the same stuff as Earth. And then we've got some eerie mythology here too. In ancient Greece, Aristotle wrote of a people in Arcadia called the Proselines. Their name means before the moon, and they told of ancestors who lived on the Earth with no moon in the sky. And they weren't alone. Half a world away, the Muisca of Colombia started their creation story the exact same way. A time when the moon wasn't yet in the sky. 2 peoples, 2 continents, no contact, the same impossible memory. And then 2 Soviet researchers took the theory even further. In 1970, Mikhail Vasin and Alexander Sherbakov asked the question that nobody wanted to touch. What if the moon isn't really a moon at all? What if it was constructed, hollowed out, and placed in orbit around Earth by someone else? The more they looked at the early Apollo-era data, the more convinced they became that this idea couldn't be dismissed outright. In their view, there wasn't one single fact that proved that the moon couldn't be artificial. They pointed to strange details in the Apollo data. The moon has no global magnetic field today, yet some of the rocks brought back by Apollo missions were magnetized. Its surface also contains tough, heat-resistant materials like titanium, chromium, and zirconium, the kinds of metals that sound suspiciously like you'd use to build a protective shell. And then there's the crater problem. Hollow moon theorists claim that many lunar craters appear weirdly shallow for their size, almost like incoming meteorites are smashing into the surface and then hitting something underneath that stops them from going deeper. And then there's the big one. During Apollo 12, they crashed the lunar lander into the moon. And according to official reports, the moon rang like a bell for a full hour. The same experiment was carried out with Apollo 13, except they went bigger and dropped a used Saturn V booster, and apparently the moon rang for 3 hours. I'm sure there's an explanation, but usually hollow things ring when they get hit with something. But nah, this is all just an insane theory, right?
Ooh. So we finish on the big one because the moon is the one I can never quite leave alone. You know, there's always like one thing. Think about it, right? It's too big. It's too light. It sits at the exact distance to blank out the sun almost to the pixel. And no matter how long we look, we only ever get the one face of it, which is either the most convenient coincidence in the sky or it isn't a coincidence at all. And do I think it's a hollow spaceship parked here by ancient engineers? No, I don't know that. And I'm not going to pretend I do, but it's just a rock doing nothing up there. Well, has never once sat right with me, okay? There's more to it than we're told, and what the more actually is, I honestly couldn't tell you. And on that note, I think that's where we'll leave it for now, I guess. Once again, we went down the rabbit hole. It wasn't to find the bomb, but it was to extract the thread which sits within all the noise and the static and practice our discernment along the way. Now, if you did enjoy today's episode, let me know. Drop a like on the video. Tell me what you enjoyed. Tell me what you want to see more of. Tell me what you want to see less of. I am open to feedback. I'm always looking to curate the perfect episode, if there is such a thing. Obviously, it's quite hard because I really only can gather what I come across, and it's getting increasingly harder to do that these days. But if you're new, I hope I earned your subscription today. I do this every single day, so it would mean a lot to me if you did hit that subscribe button. And also, if you do, make sure you hit that notification button. That actually goes for everybody who's watching at this point. If you're subscribed or not, just check to see if you've got that notification bell. Just mark it. It'll ensure that you don't miss whenever I release an episode. Now, the most important thing that all of you can do for me right now is stay safe, stay well, and stay curious. Until next time.